too.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Okay, so we got the live stream going and we've got the recording going. And now we have attendees.
and there you
Which-
are, Jay.
Oh, and there's Rich Robbins, which will. Okay. Oh, that's me. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that.
Larry's here in
Larry's
attendees.
here.
Oh, okay, I got her.
Got her.
Okay.
Oh, and Robert SBA is with us too.
Robert's here.
How about that? And I don't know if one of these folks is the applicant, Anastasios Giannopoulos and Kristen Menendez.
Yeah. Denopolis is,
Okay,
that was the name I saw on the application. Oh, Clary, hello. Oh,
Hi,
Bob
everyone.
SBA is here.
Hi.
Hello,
Hi.
Robert.
The sign-in seemed peculiar today, but anyway, got here. Thanks.
I was asked to keep attendance, so I'm doing that now. And as I said, Susan won't be here.
Right. Who's
So
doing
if we have the
minutes?
applicant, we can get
I'm doing
started,
minutes
right?
tonight.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, lucky me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
I keep
You
trying
got-
to promote
oh, you got Doug.
Anastasios.
Hey, Doug.
Yep, okay.
Hello. Hi.
How you doing?
Hi.
Everybody.
Okay. Hang in there. How's everybody?
Hey,
Good.
Good.
Looking forward to maybe a shortish meeting, maybe. Maybe
I'll
less.
fix that.
Say that.
Oh, Josh figured that out in advance. That's why he came on the list for today.
That's the curse. You can't say
I
that.
only had that much power, Clary.
Mr. Giannopoulos, do you want to share your screen with the slides or do you want me to do it?
I could do that.
Okay, I'll leave it to you then. And
Yeah,
I will,
hello. I feel like you've been here before, Mr. Giannopoulos.
Yes, I have.
So you know everybody here on the committee, Kay Carpin, Jay
Hello.
Adolph, Josh Cohen, Mark Diller, Clary Newell, Madge Rosenberg, Peter Sampton, and myself, Michelle Parker.
Yes. Hello, everybody.
Wow.
And what
Hello.
about Paige?
Paige.
Hey,
And
You
Paige.
left out Paige.
Oh, I didn't say Paige. I'm sorry, Paige.
Forgiven.
Thank you. All right. We'll hear from you, Mr. Giannopoulos. We have some non-committee board members with us tonight, Bob SBA, Rich Robbins, and Doug Kleiman. And we will have, while you make your presentation, committee members may interrupt and ask questions. They're not rude, but they may ask questions during your presentation and then after, and then non-committee board members can ask you questions. And I don't know if there are any other members of the public here, Mark?
there was one named Menendez, Kristen Menendez. In the share screen, I can't see any more than that.
Okay.
Well, let me
so
see. Yep, no, that's just the one. Okay.
We'll wait till we get to
Okay.
that. Okay. Mr.
Great.
Giannopoulos, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I don't know if everybody was present the last time I presented this, but basically we're replacing the storefront. And the reason why we came back today is because Landmarks wanted us to go, because we kind of went ahead and presented to you before even Landmarks accepted us to go ahead and do this. So actually, that's why we're coming back again. Very little has changed. There was some remarks that were made by the Landmarks, such as, I could go through it, starting at A09. They basically wanted us to show the curb that goes along the, Columbus Avenue. So they want us to actually identify that on the drawing. And that's basically one of the comments. As you see here, the curb that goes continuous.
Yeah, I remember Paige was talking about that. She had asked about that, right, Paige?
Yes, thank you very much. I think it's improved.
Yeah. Yeah, we just basically took the curb that was there, that's existing, and we kind of just brought it along Columbus Avenue and just continued it all the way around. That was one comment. The other comment was they were talking about the provide precast, the proposed brownstone. So they were asking us if we were gonna actually incorporate that too, and we are, but we're actually doing it on this elevation. If you see here, is there's some type of precast that's on top of here. We're gonna continue that all the way around to the other side, which is Columbus, and continue that all the way across the storefront on top.
Your storefront and the storefront next to yours, or just your storefront?
No, it's gonna be the whole, the property,
Uh-huh.
or the whole storefront of the property. So it would start on on 86th Street, and we'll wrap around and go on to the other side, which is Columbus Avenue.
All right.
It'll be continuous. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, changes to the windows?
Changes to the windows. We had, I don't know if we had the transom there last time. Let me see. No, we had the transom there last time. Yeah, that was part of last time. We actually had the transom on top. They kind of wanted us to mimic what was there before. And there's a clear picture on 87th Street with the transom. So they wanted us to carry that through the storefront.
Yeah, the transom changed from being in 3 parts to 2 parts, right?
I see now that there's only 2 parts, right? Actually, before there was a lot more divided. It was actually, 3, like you said. It would be, so that this bay here would have 3 separations instead of now just having 2 individual separations.
Question, could you put up the slide quickly just for, what do you call it? It's been a long day. I've lost the words. That shows the entire street front on that block from memory. I can't remember what the adjacent building looks like. I'm sorry to ask you this, but if you have a streetscape view that shows the entire block from 87th to 86th, that would be great.
Yeah, so this is,
Great. I now remember it. I live 2 blocks away, but I couldn't for the life of me remember because this is, and I think we touched on it last time as a committee. These are a pair of old tenement buildings that will now lose their similarity because you're taking the bold step of a unified series of storefronts. So I just want to point that out to our committee.
Is that a good or a bad thing, Paige?
Well, I think because Landmarks had some good suggestions, but I think when you'll see my eyes go bug-eyed when he shows us the treatment and the color of the base. I don't want to spoil your surprise, Mr. Giannopoulos.
I think it's going to be a better, because we're actually going from, there's an existing, if you see the existing, it's, it has like this, almost like this ceramic terracotta tile that's on top, on top of the facade. And we're going to change that. It's going to be more of, I guess, between stone and glass. It's gonna make a difference. I mean, it's going to be a lot better than having this old, kind of, reddish ceramic tile that's on top.
Be careful what you say about old, because many of us are older than 21.
So this is the tile that I was referring to. That's here.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna change that.
Is there a rendering of what it's going to look like?
Yeah, we do. We have a rendering. Here. That guy shows you the signage. That's another question that they had. They want us to indicate where the signage is going to be in reference to the storefront.
In other
Well,
words, not on the windows. Go ahead, Paige.
this is a surprise. I had always thought, and I remembered, and maybe incorrectly, but the replacement masonry where the pilasters are and the entablature above would be at least somewhat reminiscent of the Flemish pink or a reddish color or brownish color. White to me signals Third Avenue. I don't know
It's
why.
not. It's not white. It's not white. It's going to simulate the precast that's on top. We're going to carry that through.
But you need to show that in a much better light. I think
Yeah.
the Landmarks Commission
It
would
looks
give you
awfully
better.
white. Yeah,
I mean, to me, it doesn't fit the character of our neighborhood. I mean,
Yeah. No, we're gonna. I'm an architect plus the
I
owner's
know who you
the
are.
owner's son. So I mean,
I know who you are, but you need to show us a sample of what material you're actually using there. I would be reassured.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely need to provide that.
it's much too white.
Yeah, maybe the rendering doesn't do any justice, but yeah, we're gonna definitely simulate the precast all the way through.
But you say precast, but there's a Flemish pink and Flemish brown up above in the brick. And you need to decide which color you're going to pick. Because right now, it doesn't, it has no relationship to what you think. And I
No,
think the other issue that you've added, if I remember correctly, the pilasters go down to the curb line that you put in, but not to the bottom of the fascia. And that looks a bit peculiar. It looks arbitrary because you have a woman standing in front of the, between the first and second bay along Columbus Avenue.
Yeah.
And it looks as though it's suspended differently, or the detail is different. Because the side view is far more modulated and simple.
No, we're gonna carry. Yeah, the pilasters is gonna be all precast. The base is gonna continue. We're gonna continue that base of the the curb. It's gonna continue all the way across. And all that's all gonna tie in together, and it's gonna simulate whatever's existing.
And my last question is,
Yeah.
it looks like the entrance is on the corner.
Yes.
Is it Shamford?
Yeah.
Because I think that's new, right? That wasn't there before. I don't recall that.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was probably the same. I think we left it.
Because I think
thought it
that's not
was.
part of the vocabulary of these storefronts.
Can we go back, Paige? Because I would have thought that the pictures of of how it exists now did show the entrance like that.
Exactly. No,
Yeah,
Jay,
we showed it last time. Yeah, we did show it last time.
I don't recall Shamford. If you could confirm that, I would be grateful.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you have the previous submission, but
Well, you have a photo of the existing condition.
Right. Thank you, Jay.
You can go back to it. So we can.
Is the black part metal?
yeah, the back part is metal. Yes.
I can show you the previous presentation if that would help.
Well, I think even in this, there's a picture of the original, of the building as it exists.
Yeah, why don't you go
So
to
if
that?
we
I
just
think
go
Jay's
on.
right.
Yeah.
We should look at the existing condition.
Yeah. This is the existing condition.
No, but
So
there's
it's
a
not
photo.
Oh.
Chamford.
It's not Chamford. No.
So you're making that Chamford.
Where-
Yes. Yeah.
Where's the photo?
Photo of the.
Whoa.
Yeah, the photo of the existing,
Right here.
Photo 3.
is that the only one?
Yes.
or 5.
Let's see. Let's see.
I thought there was one that showed this, yeah, no, it was a photo
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
guys
at the
want,
beginning.
if you want, I
there
could
you
share my
go.
screen. I have it on Google Maps.
This is
Okay, there's this one.
Can I
This
call you
is-
back?
This is the way it is now.
right. Yes.
Okay, so we know what it is.
But I think, Paige, you were asking if that was the same thing as we saw a few months ago.
Correct.
I think it
And-
was,
and
but Mark,
The chamfer, I don't recall was in the proposal, but it was shown that as this one shows the 3-star, it looks chamfered, but I don't believe it actually was. So I'm confused.
No, it was chamfered from last time.
Well, if you look at the clearer photograph on the right, under 3-star coffee, it's very clearly no door on
Right.
86th Street.
Right, but that's what it is now. We were proposing to do chamfer, but it's not.
Right.
Isn't this an archival photograph?
Yes.
Okay.
So what date is that?
I remember, historic photos. I just.
If somebody knows cars, they could probably date the cab by the 5 cents as the drop of the meter, but I'm not clever.
You see that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was
I'm not going to debate this. I don't want to take up the committee's time over this, but I would, I'm concerned that the chamfered door is not part of the vocabulary of these two buildings, and that I think you have to choose and put in a doorway that is rectilinear and respects the original piece, because otherwise you end up with an odd cantilever. I leave it at that.
Although there's one picture when the subway on the right, upper right, when the above ground, the 9th Avenue subway ran, with whatever the name of that store is, that doesn't
It's
look
not, it's not
That's
a Landmark
rectilinear?
West. It's rectilinear. It's a pier on the corner. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
checked
agree
that
with,
with our yeah.
I agree
I'm
with
not gonna say
Paige. I
anymore.
mean, I think it's, the chamfered door is a change,
Well,
a proposed change.
it, it was part of the presentation in October. but
No,
it is
no, I mean,
obvious-
a change from the existing.
That's correct.
Condition, and which is the original configuration.
That's correct.
I do think we approved it in October, didn't we? Or did we?
We did.
I don't remember.
I
Yeah,
don't think so.
I think we did.
Well, I'm
You
glad
looking
he's
up?
come back for a second bite. I'm changing my mind if I voted the other way. Sorry.
we can do that.
Fine. You're allowed to change your mind all the time if you want.
Just for point of reference, the building right across the street has the same detail. What they did is they did a chamfer just to kind of, create a different entrance. At least you could see the entrance from the corner.
I know, but the problem
Which
is
one is that?
the one
The
with
one with
Starbucks
TD Bank?
is.
Yeah, it used to be.
Yeah.
It's a Starbucks now. but
Starbucks.
The issue is
Yeah.
that's a different vocabulary of architecture, and this is a twin building side by side.
Right. I think on the other hand, it's pretty common along Columbus, if I'm remembering right.
I know, but this isn't about commonality. It's about adherence to original design work by the original architect and sort of interpreting it in a contemporary way, not changing it.
Yeah,
Remember,
no, I understand what you're saying.
there used to be that wonderful play, I love you, now change. So
Yeah.
this is not that script, I don't
Hear that
think.
all the time.
I love you. You're perfect. Now change.
Oh,
That's it. Thank you very much.
Anybody else have any comments about the doorway?
I wouldn't mind a second look at it, just because I'm making up my own mind about it.
And Peter, you were gonna say something?
I'd like to look at it again too.
May we?
Oh, okay. You mean the rendering?
Yeah, the rendering of the door
Okay.
at the corner. I see. Got it.
Is this ADA accessible?
Yes, it will be.
Will you
Good.
have a ramp there on the, how will
We're
that?
gonna try to meet the sidewalk, so it's pretty much almost level basically with the entry. So
If you have to put
it'll be a slight little ramp to it, but definitely ADA accessible.
So will the signboard follow the chamfer, or will it come to a peak and sort of look
No.
like it's cantilevering over it?
It's cantilevering, yeah, it's gonna be on the corner. We're gonna leave that part of the, the building, and then we're just gonna chamfer only the storefront part.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I didn't pay attention to the chamfer the first time around. Also, the door, as you've got it on this slide, seems to have a transom which is a very different dimension.
Yeah, it's
Then-
not the same line.
Yeah, what's up with that? Is that just a visual effect, or is that because there's a decision to make the transom bigger?
No,
on the
no,
door?
no, it's gonna follow the same line.
Okay,
So the rendering is not accurate.
or maybe it's foreshortened or something, I don't know.
It's not accurate for color either.
Right, that's the problem, the color.
Right.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
there
the
any?
transoms are all different colors.
No, I don't mean the trans.
Now, on your drawing of the elevation, it looked like the signboard, there wasn't a signboard on the southern part of the Columbus Avenue frontage, and you were showing details about a mini cornice that was being restored. Is that still happening? And where does the signboard fit in relation to that? I guess.
So we go back to the elevation.
Yeah, so so you show the transom windows, and then on the southern half you show what looks to be like I don't know if they're bricks or rusticated stone.
These right here,
Yeah.
these are panels.
But they look like they are divided as opposed to a continuous signboard like the rendering you just showed us made it look. Whereas the southern part, I'm pointing like you can see where I'm pointing, sorry. Whereas the southern ones look like a signboard to me. Are they all supposed to be the same thing? And
Yeah, same thing, yeah.
Yeah, because they're kind of presented a little differently on this drawing that I'm looking at, which I
Yeah.
thought was actually a surprise. I thought it would be better if they're all the same thing, whichever the same thing is.
Yeah, it would be paneling, but then I guess we're showing over here the areas of the signage.
So is one showing what's above and one showing what's beneath, or what's the deal with that?
I'm not sure, but I know we went through this with landmarks, so I guess maybe there was a reason for it. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm a little
Mark,
confused.
you also highlighted something that I didn't notice before on the southern side.
Mhm.
On the rendering, there is a break in the copper, what do you call it, cornice trim that breaks where the fire escape is. On this elevation, everything is lower and in alignment than the rendering. If you go back to the rendering, you'll see what I mean. You just highlighted something. You see what I mean? The cornice line
Oh, yeah.
ends over the letter G,
Mhm.
which means that it's higher up on the lintel, the rusticated lintel that's part of the
You're talking
southern
about this
side.
area in here, right?
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't match what you show on your elevation because there's more space between the last row of stonework. Then I think we brought this up before because
Yes.
we asked that show more of the original brownstone work than is now presented.
But can they do that when there's a fire escape there?
Well, I don't know because we don't know the thickness or the breadth of it because it's too high anyway. Previously, it was lower, or they were going to look at making it lower so that you could see more of the brownstone trim that is the original division line between the commercial space and the apartments above.
Let's see if we could get it in a picture. Hold on a second. So this is it over here. And this right here you're talking about.
Yes, but that's almost flat. Yours is a cima recta cornice type that protrudes probably, I'm guessing here, 4 to 5 inches. And for whatever reason, that doesn't satisfy the location of the fire escape because it's too high. You would have to lower it. It's not as flat as the one that's there. Right now, the sign is there, and right above it, behind the sign is the original brownstone trim.
Right.
Isn't this a matter of pages, a matter of code as to
No,
on the
no,
fire,
you can-
with the fire escape?
yeah, but that's because the design doesn't respond to this anomaly on the south side. You can adjust that by changing the new work so you don't have to have, it can be lowered so you can have a continuous fascia panel, series of fascia panels, rather than having to truncate the new design. Because that sort of indicates it doesn't fit. If you have to do cutouts around things, I find that a little peculiar.
No, I mean, wherever it terminates at this point is where the you have this brown rusticated stone here, and then that's when the corner starts from there. They
Well, you
continue.
should check your proposed view, and you'll see that it's you cut the cornice off that.
But
It doesn't show there because it doesn't show the picture. You have to look at your rendering.
Rendering.
the rendering, maybe I don't.
See what I mean? Your cornice only goes about, what, 10 inches past the air conditioner? And then it's blank at the top.
No, I think that's just shadow that you're looking at.
No, it's missing. I
It's-
can see wrought iron behind it. I think you need to look at that.
Okay, but on our drawing, it shows the cornice going all the way through. But look, it's right here.
I know, but which is right? The rendering that the Landmarks
The
Commission.
rendering
will be-
is some shadow on there. That's why it looks like it's maybe missing, but right here, the cornice is going right to the rusticated facade.
So the rendering is wrong.
You can say that. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's just shadow.
Well, I think you need to coordinate the two views.
They
You
look,
have to
I
get rid
mean,
of that shadow.
to me, it looks like even in the rendering, the cornice is going straight to the edge there. I didn't, unless I'm missing it, Paige, I don't.
He can go back and you can look again. I'm serious. I wouldn't be calling attention to this if I wasn't concerned.
No, I know.
And so's my dog.
Well, I respect your dog's opinion.
She says no. Nikki, can you let her out?
I don't know. I think 2 barks is yes.
Once for
I'm
yes,
letting the
twice
dog
for
out
no.
so she doesn't throw off our votes.
I have a question.
Sure.
Are all the tenants inside going out? What happens to my shoemaker?
Actually, Shoemaker is still gonna be there because he's not part of this building. He's
Next
actually
building.
next door. He's kind of like in the middle between the two buildings.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, he's still there.
okay.
Yeah, he's staying.
I have a few questions.
Hey, it's important.
Sure.
Let me know when you're ready for my few questions.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so that, if we can go back to the rendering,
Mhm.
that transom over the entrance
Mhm.
looks like it's sized to accommodate an AC unit.
No, there's not gonna be any AC units there.
Okay. And then someone kind of alluded to it, but I think it's just a question of the way the picture was taken, but it's to my point with respect to all of the transoms. I may have missed this, but what's the design plan for the transoms themselves? Are they gonna have design features paying a nod to what's happening in the community and of some interest, some aesthetic interest that, or they're gonna be plain.
There's gonna be plain glass, yeah.
So I mean, is that an option to do some work on them, some nice art mapping around the building that is relevant for that part of the community?
I mean, if something that the tenant wants to put in there, I mean, I guess we could talk to the tenant, but I don't know if they're gonna want it part of their storefront. I'm not sure. That could be talked about, I guess.
Okay, all right.
Probably
Thank you.
not where this committee is coming from either.
No.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, do we have some sort of resolution on this?
Michelle,
would
could I just
propose
ask
one.
something?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, Clary first,
Yeah,
and then
so
thank
I
you.
missed, I was not on the committee apparently, I wasn't on the committee when this was first presented, so I'm a little bit at a loss. I'm minus your history on this, but aside from the comments that have been made, what troubles me in general, I mean, this is not the most prominent architecture of our historic districts, and it's far from pristine, and I tend to be fairly liberal in looking at something like this. But what troubles me about this is just listening to the conversation that you guys have had who are more familiar with this from the prior presentation, and putting that in context. What I'm hearing is the architect saying, oh, we could do that or we could do that, but the things that he says we could do, we're not seeing. I mean, there seems to be a lot of, I don't want to say sloppiness to the design, but a lot of detail that we would be voting on as, oh, they could do that, but that's not what we're looking at. And somebody can say more about that than I can, I guess. I mean, I'm not comfortable voting yes at this point. I think I'll abstain, but it just seems that it's a moving target and it's not yet clearly enough identified. There's so many ambiguities here. It's not clearly enough identified that at least I would be comfortable saying yes.
Well, Mark, did you want to say how this resolution would be worded?
If we're finished with comments and we haven't gone to the public yet, I don't know if the folks that are in the attendees are here for this.
So are there any members of the public who want to speak
No.
about this
Oh, yes,
application?
there are two.
I have Daniel Gallagher and Michelle Barriere, and I'm probably mispronouncing both of those. I apologize.
How
They don't seem to be raising their hands.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. They do not?
Oh, there's a hand
yeah.
going up.
Okay.
Daniel, yes.
So Mr. Gallagher, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. So I haven't attended many of these subcommittee meetings, so keep that in mind. But I do agree with the previous speaker's comments. I would generally consider myself to be pretty liberal with allowing people to build what they want. It just seems a little bit more thought needs to go into making sure the rendering matches with what they intend to build. And that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Mark?
I don't see another hand. So what I would do to move this along is to propose a resolution that would be in general to approve, but with conditions. And those conditions would be to ensure that what Paige was talking about that cornice line is in fact the final result, which is that the cornice line continues all the way to its terminus at the end of the pilaster on the south side. That I would condition it upon the removal of the chamfered door and replacing it with something that's similar to what's there now. Because I think that the argument about, I don't think we focused on the chamfered door last time, and I agree that that is a problem. And that the sign band be unified. Now I think it's the architect's intent that the sign band be unified, in the north and south portions of the Columbus Avenue elevation, but the drawing doesn't read that way, and I don't know what to make of it. So I would put into the resolution an expectation that it would all be one, and that it continue to reveal that cornice line all the way along the Columbus Avenue side as well. So on those conditions, I would approve it.
And do you
I'd like to say something.
something about the color, Mark?
I'm open to something about the color. I'm not smart enough to know what that is.
I think that's a pretty big factor, that this rendering with the white metal or stone, whatever it is, really doesn't work from my standpoint.
Okay, so Paige made a reference earlier to, is it Flemish brown and Flemish something else? I remember the Flemish. Red, thank you. So
yeah, it's gonna be more of a, sorry to interrupt, but it's gonna be the color of the basically the corners that's there now. It's gonna follow that color.
now, is that the colors that Paige was talking about, or is that
Yeah.
Flemish red and or brown?
Yeah, but you
Okay.
gotta show it. Yeah.
Well,
Well, the rendering did, come out exactly the way we wanted it to, but it's supposed to be the Flemish red.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should incorporate that obviously into the resolution, because he can't show it at this point.
Right.
Yep. And I don't want, I mean, he's been kind enough to come back a second time. I don't want to go for a third.
No.
But I don't want to lose these good points that Paige and others were making. So that would be my resolution, to approve conditioned upon, 1, the cornice line going all the way underneath the fire escape; 2, the chamfered door becoming a flat straight door; 3, unifying the sign band on the Columbus Avenue elevation; and 4, picking up the Flemish red coloring on the elements that pertains to below.
Michelle and Kay, may I say one more thing on this?
Sure.
On the form of resolution? Okay, I mean, I know I've had kind of this comment in the past, but this is a very good example of what I mean to say, which is that, but Mark's resolution says we approve if you make 4 changes, all of which seem to be important generally to most or all of us. And what it's going to look like, if that's voted yes, is CB7 approved. If you want to make these things happen, the resolution, I strongly believe, should be in the form of disapprove unless. That's obvious enough to me. I don't know why you guys don't do it that way.
I think
either way,
in the sense, Clary, that whether you do it in the positive on condition or disapprove unless, sometimes we have, or I mean, you're correct, we generally approve with conditions, but we have in the past occasionally disapproved unless, and I think that it reflects the how strongly a majority of the committee feel about certain things. On this one, I'm fine either way, but for example, I have no objection to the chamfered door, and I would be fine, but I wouldn't vote against the resolution that calls for it to be changed. I don't feel that strongly one way or another, and as to your suggestion, I'm neutral. I could, if the majority feels that we should disapprove it unless, and maybe just because of the number of conditions that we're talking about, that might be a more prudent way to do it, since there are several, but
Yeah,
I'm open either way.
No. I think we should disapprove it unless.
I mean, my comment, this was a very good example of the general point I was making, and just to say it for one more second, and I also would vote for it if it's a disapprove unless. You know, once something leaves our premises, I mean, maybe it is true if sometimes at least that people down there at LPC are paying a little more attention to us than they used to. Maybe they do. But something that is flagged as CB7 approves, I would not have, even with conditions, I would not have any confidence that anybody is focusing on anything other than CB7 approves, if they even focus on that.
Well, part of the problem would be some of these issues may go to staff. At the staff level, some of these conditions that we put in the resolution, and then we kind of lose track of what our input is.
And I don't think that how the resolution is phrased makes a difference on that. I don't think.
Well, except that LPC may divide up, may look at our resolution, and they may have some of the same issues, and some may go to staff level, and some may go to commission level.
Well, I think either way, it'll be part of, the presentation that we make, but I note that Paige and Mark have their hands up, Michelle as well.
Okay. Paige? Oh,
Paige seems to have gone looking for the dog.
Scarf?
Oh, there she is.
Paige? We can't hear you.
You're muted, Paige.
Sorry. I realized I had my washing machine on. I couldn't figure out where the noise was coming from. Can I support Clary's proposition, because I think there's enough inconsistencies and alignment issues that, I'm now that I'm really focused, Mr. Giannopoulos, on your proposal, there is brownstone poking through. For instance, you can see it where I think it's the basement air grill to the cellar. You can see the brownstone there. You can see the brownstone trim above. And I'm concerned that the color that you've selected is the Flemish red or pink from the brick up above is the wrong register, because it used
It's a
to
brick.
sit.
It's a piece of stone that's still there. The cornice is still there. We're gonna mimic that.
But the cornice that's there is brownstone. Unfortunately, I live a block away,
It's a
and I've
lime-
looked at
that piece of
this.
limestone. Yeah.
One at a time, please.
It's not limestone, it's brownstone, brown sandstone.
Okay.
Okay, so there's enough little things here that derail you. If it was only one thing, I think it could be fixed, but I can't support this proposal at this stage.
But you can support it as a disapproval.
Correct.
With the follow,
Yes.
with the conditions as enumerated by Mark.
Absolutely.
And
All right,
Mark,
so I will change the proposed resolution to that effect. To Clary's point, there's one thing that Clary should take into account, which may be different from the last time she was on this committee, which is that in general, our chairs or others actually present our resolutions at public hearings almost all the time. In fact, they aspired. So we have the opportunity to emphasize those things we want to emphasize, which is different than a previous practice.
Yeah, Mark, I think they have, to my understanding, and partly because you've told me this, become a little more transparent and a little more receptive than they used to be. But by the time you're in front of them, lots has gone under the bridge or whatever, and I think you still want your resolution to say what you really mean and not rely on hoping they'll be paying attention at 5 p.m. when you're the last one on the agenda and half of them have left. On some occasions.
That's a different conversation and we can have that. But I think right now we've got a resolution that I'm hoping someone will second that will be disapprove unless with the 4 things that I mentioned.
I'll second that.
all right.
Second it too.
So I'll take the vote, Kay.
Sure, go ahead.
All right.
You got Doug's hand up. I don't know if that's
Oh, sorry, I didn't
Doug
see
telling
that.
us
Doug,
that he can't vote.
No,
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 go ahead.
well, that, yes, I think from, perhaps I am, obviously I'm not on the committee, so I would not be, but I'm also, I'm exempt here. I represent the landlord. And I just want to remind people that the landlord, the architect is the owner, they own the diner. And I can tell you that I've been working all I can say is in terms of a character reference, I've been working very diligently to get these spaces rented. And we have some wonderful prospective tenants that I think will be terrific for the neighborhood. I'm in this space a lot because I'm showing it. And there is this limestone, and I'm not an architect, and I have great respect for everybody on this meeting that you have terminology that I haven't even heard of. But I just have if I may just indulge, I just have a question on the the chamfered door, I don't, I was the tenant rep for ore washers, and they changed that door for aesthetics or ADA compliance. I think that's a chamfered door too, but I don't
Yes.
know. Is there any
It
reason?
is for sure.
Okay. Is there a reason? I don't know. We haven't even gotten into this with the prospective tenants, but I know we obviously have to be ADA compliant. There's a grade change on Columbus. So I'm just trying to understand why would a chamfered door be not appropriate or appropriate? I want to learn. I'm not. So that was one question I had, but also that there's a limestone that's below. And then you have it almost looks like Flintstones, when I say Flintstones, I mean the cartoon, like these big boulders that are kind of horrible right now, which is the existing condition. But anyway, I'm babbling and I apologize. But there is a limestone that I think is even different than the color of the building above. And I think that's what was explained to me was the intention to match the existing limestone from that transom down, and then so that it's line of sight, it's very consistent. I don't think anyway. All right, I'll shut up now, but I know we're trying to get some great tenants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, Doug, that we want to encourage, something to happen with this building, and it's beyond what it looks like now. I guess, tweaking what those changes ought to be and ought not to be. I'm still keeping my mind open for the moment. Paige has a question.
We'll listen to Paige, and there's a public member too, Mark. I think I saw some.
Very quickly.
But then I'd like to vote on the resolution.
Yeah.
Paige?
Absolutely. I just want to respond to Doug's comments. Ore washers is a different type of brownstone tenement. And it has, if you recall, a big round cast iron column, very simple,
Right.
that it holds up the corner. And they pushed the chamfer back because that's the way that storefront was initially designed. That is a typical way of getting things in on a corner where the level changes. So there's that. And the issue is, in terms of what you're seeing, the actual, as you call it, the rubble Flintstone is actually rough hewn sandstone, but this happens to be brownstone. That's not its original color. It's not white. It would have been brown to match the brownstone features higher up in the building.
I think
Doug,
what Doug's referring to, Paige, is not what you're looking at right here, but rather what the building looks like presently. Isn't that right?
No, I think he's referring to the rubble walls.
Well, no, I'm saying that if you look at what I'm going to call limestone, beneath the second floor of the
right here.
If you look, I don't know, I wish you had a close-up photograph of it. It is a different color than the building above,
Right.
but so it's consistent. It's existing, and I think it doesn't look very well matched in the rendering. I'll give you that, but
Trust me, it's brown sandstone, and it comes in various colors, anywhere from purple to a lovely pink. But this one is not limestone. Limestone is a completely different material. This is sandstone, brown sandstone. And the issue is that I'm very concerned about the technology here because it's not so interchangeable. This will be a permanent fix that we want. And it needs to adhere to some clues that the building still has. That Columbus Avenue facade is modified beyond buggeration with tile, paint, mosaics, all sorts of things. Everybody's tried to cover up the older storefronts. So here's a chance that you strip it off, look at what's there, and respect whatever that material is. That's all I'm saying is consistency. We don't want to add another piece of colored sandstone that doesn't fit the period of this building.
That's what we're trying to do.
Okay,
good.
That's the intent.
So
all right, I'm
we
done.
already, we already, Jay, you want to say something? Because we already.
No, I was
seconded
just
the
going to
motion.
say, to Doug's point about the process and the character and so forth, that in our findings of fact, we can simply include a statement that we're supportive of the renovation and the upgrade of this storefront as a fact to be considered.
Correct.
I think that's important to include.
And I just want to say, I made a mistake. I guess I see you guys are so much more educated than I'm using the term sandstone. I was just simply talking about the color, matching color. Not the material, and that's my mistake for saying limestone. I don't know it's a limestone. It's the color that's the matching point that I was talking about.
I'll buy you lunch and we'll walk the hood and I'll show you.
Right. All right.
Call the question.
Can't be
I
limestone.
have called the question
Wrong color.
and I'm going to take a
Could you
vote.
take down the share screen so we can call the question?
Yeah.
So this is a motion to disapprove
Unless.
unless the 4 conditions or so that Mark wrote. All right, so Peter, what's your vote?
I say yes to disapprove.
Okay, Madge,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
I'm a yes, and Kay.
Yes.
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 0, 0, 0 on the disapproval. And we don't have Sue Schwartz here. And Doug, would you like to vote?
No, I'm ineligible. Ineligible.
Ineligible, right.
0, 0, 0, 1.
Oh, you have Robert SBA.
Bob,
Oh,
Bob
Robert.
SBA, do you want to vote?
I
Sorry,
vote yes. I vote yes.
And Rich Robbins may or may not be with us.
Rich is still here. Well, his
Yeah,
picture is.
I'm here. I wasn't planning on having my CB7 hat on, but if I did, I'd vote yes. So I don't know if I can
Yes?
be here and not vote, so I think I might be a yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So that would be 2,
0,
0,
0,
0, 1 for non-committee board members.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Great.
We really want this to be done. We're looking forward to a beautiful spot and beautiful tenants. And the rest you'll work out with LPC. Do you have a date with them yet?
Actually, we'll meet with them next week on the job site just to discuss some details.
Uh-huh.
And
You
And
have
they
a
gave
date
us
with
a-
them?
excuse me.
Do you have a commission date yet?
Hearing?
They gave us a
What
whole
did they
bunch
do?
of dates. They gave us they gave us a date for the 20th to meet with them on the job site. Then they said January 25th, final presentation. February 3rd, identify applicant team by name, email address. 4th, the team schedule for the hearing is expected to be released by LPC.
Okay.
February 7th, community board review must be complete. And February 8th, hearing date, yes.
So it's February 8th at LPC.
Yeah, yeah.
And February 7th with CB7.
No, February 1st, I believe, right? Or is it?
Full board is February 1st.
February, yeah, my other count. February 1st is our full
February
board
1st.
meeting. You're welcome to join us if you like. And we will be there. And then one of us will be at LPC on the 8th. Thank
Okay,
you.
so the 7th, I gotta tell LPC to disregard that, to make it for the 1st,
Yes.
right?
No,
That's the
you will
CB7
have
meeting.
satisfied that condition on February 1st. So all you have to do is tell them that you've been through the process.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
And generally, we send our resolutions to LPC that next day or the day after-ish.
okay,
All right?
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good luck.
you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. We have with new business, 315 West 103. There's been, I think, a lively dialogue between Jay and Rich. So I'm willing to sit back and listen to this. But Rich Robbins, you want to make your presentation?
Yeah, and I know I'm the last thing before what had been a short meeting goes longer, so I'll be real quick. And again, I'm here wearing my my resident hat, not my CB7 hat. And I'm talking about this construction, which I know a number of you have heard through the years, has been just this ongoing nightmare. But you can see the building in this picture, or here. It's just this monstrosity in a row of historic brownstones. And just real quick, the history here: in 2009, way before the neighborhood was landmarked, the previous owner got permits to build the 2 stories up and 15 feet back to greatly expand this brownstone, and got the permits by claiming the building was vacant and claiming that the construction complied with code, neither of which was true. Eventually, after a few months, DOB issued a stop work order, which remained in effect effectively until 2017. When the neighborhood became a landmark in 2015 with the Riverside 2 historic preservation, both DOB and LPC clearly said that LPC approval was needed. And I've got some quotes from DOB and LPC basically saying, like, the borough has confirmed that the project will be subject to LPC approval and that will only allow work now for safety-related reasons. DOB issued a notice to revoke the permit in December of 2016, as there was an LPC approval, but then partially lifted the stop work order solely to allow weatherproofing of the back of the building, because the building had, wasn't weather tight. There were big parts missing. At the time, LPC told me that anything more than a tarp requires LPC approval. Nonetheless, from December of 2016 into spring of 2017, the new owners built this 6-story cinder block and then stucco wall on the expanded footprint of the building. And LPC said that they consider this wall to be temporary. And then after that, LPC did issue a CNE, not on the wall itself, but on modifications to windows and doors on the temporary wall, which to me made no sense. That you can't have permanent windows and doors on a temporary wall. But based on the CNE, DOB allowed the construction to move forward. I did file actually 2 Article 78 proceedings against LPC challenging the CNE. And in response, most recently in February of 2021, so just about a year ago, LPC, the city said in a filing, LPC stated that approval will be needed if and when the property owner decided to make the wall permanent. The amended CNE permit does not contemplate the temporary or permanent nature of the rear wall, but instead narrowly specifies modifications to the rear wall. That was in February. Then in July, they finished the construction, started renting the building, which is now, I believe, fully occupied. And DOB, first in July, then in October, and most recently on January 3rd, issued temporary certificates of occupancy. Now, in my emails with Jay, there's a good chance that we're at the end of the line here. And there's the question of, are they now considering that because this had been approved back in 2009, it's approved? And to Jay's question, I did not prevail in my Article 78. So it could be that that trumps what LPC has consistently said, which is that this wall is temporary. In which case, I wish LPC would just tell me that, which they haven't. So I just have a few questions. I've been emailing John Weiss and Mark Silverman and have not gotten answers. They're the Deputy General Counsel and General Counsel of LPC. My questions, number one is, does LPC still consider this wall to be temporary? Number two, is the reason that DOB is issuing temporary certificates of occupancy instead of a full C of O because this wall is temporary? Number three, if that is the case, at what point does it effectively become permanently temporary? Are they just going to keep issuing temporary C of Os? And for how long can they keep doing that? And number four, just from a community level, is this a path to bypass LPC approval? And even if this is at the end of the line, is that a concern that this might be a way, if you just keep forging ahead and ignore it, will they just give up and say, yeah, it's permanent? So I'm hoping to get answers, and I don't know if the board can help get answers.
Hello?
Peter, we can hear you on the phone.
Peter, you gotta,
He's-
okay.
He did.
Michelle, can
If I
I,
could just say something, an application for 4315 West 103 went to LPC, an application was filed. It is under review, according to the website. And
Yeah,
what
and
they're looking for is we don't know, I don't understand what this means. Sign off / notice of compliance request. Now, it
Can
may
I-
mean, unless you know, you probably know definitely, Jay, may mean approve us now for stuff that we should have gotten approval in the past. And we've seen a couple of applications like that, Rich. Where
Yeah, and actually,
oh,
John Weiss did respond about that. And he said that the new application is something different. He said
yeah,
it's,
Rich, didn't you say it was the new application? You can't tell because I looked it up too. and,
yeah,
on the website, didn't you say that he responded to you and that this application has to do with just a sign off on some repair work on the front facade?
yeah, it's front
On the
facade.
front
They
facade?
had done illegal work and they're now trying to get LPC approval for that illegal work.
Apparently they got it. Now they're just getting.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I didn't check the website today, but
Yeah.
it was, they removed all the windows without LPC approval
in the front.
in the front, yeah. But
And you said they got approval now, Jay? Or didn't I hear?
No.
That's what they're looking for.
That this, my point was that this relates to the front facade,
Okay,
not to the wall, the rear wall that Rich was talking.
yeah, it still says on the website under review.
right.
Rich,
Okay, as of now, you're looking at it now.
Richard,
So can-
sorry with the question. They all just, except for Linda Rosenthal, they all just changed on January 1st. But have you involved the electeds, our electeds in this in the past?
So this answer might be ironic, but originally, especially back in 2009, when they were doing this construction in a so-called vacant building, when the building was fully occupied, we did, at the time, Danny O'Donnell was extremely helpful. Scott Stringer was very helpful at the time. Our council member at the time was Inez Dickens. So the electeds or the council members since then were not yet, we were still in the other district at the time. More recently, I've frankly been reluctant to go to the members because my position on CB7 makes me feel like, to the extent that I'm going to elected officials, I shouldn't do it on a personal issue.
Maybe.
Can I?
Jay, you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I mean, I did.
You did a lot of work on this.
Rich and I have been going back and forth mostly, so to try and save some time here between the two of us, so that everybody would understand where this project stands now and where LPC stands. It seems, first of all, a couple of things. The original expansion of this building, 2 stories up, was done before this is part of the historic district was designated, because I don't know if any of you have gone and taken a look at it, but it's horrendous. It never would have been approved by us, by LPC, at a staff level. It's like a mini brick apartment building stuck on top of this ground. So, but when the designation was made, it was a done deal. So that's the first thing. The second thing is just point of information.
Jay, I'm sorry, can I just ask, when you say done deal, do you mean officially approved or you just mean they did it?
No, the addition of 2 stories, Clary, was done before designation.
Yeah.
So they They just did it. They didn't need LPC.
But-
approval.
They
So
didn't
Jay-
need
Was it done
LPC.
legally otherwise, in
I
terms
beg
of
your pardon?
zoning DOB?
No, I mean, the two-story addition is not at issue. That
Okay.
was done before designation. LPC has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
DOB permitted it. It was done probably as of right under the rules that existed at that time. And it's done. It's not been an issue in any of the proceedings that Rich is describing. So it's an existing situation. Under the current rules at LPC, and Mark, I didn't remember because you and I worked on the rules changes, how long ago it was. I'm not so good at time, but it was probably, what, 5 years ago, maybe?
Around 2015.
Okay, so 6 years ago. Staff can approve changes in a rear facade. They can be approved at a staff level if the facade is not facing a thoroughfare, which is the case here. This is not a rear yard addition. It was just a change to the rear wall. So what my guess from reading Rich's description of what's gone on with LPC and DOB and quoting a couple of statements that LPC made is that this rear wall has likely, and I can't say for sure because we don't have a confirmation of it, but since LPC has been involved in this building and in the various projects, they've had applications before them. They currently have one. If they were not aware of the issues, as Rich said, he's started 2 Article 78 proceedings against LPC. So this project is very well known to the LPC commissioners as well as the staff. So my guess is that they've been pretty diligent in making sure that their ducks are in order in terms of whatever
That's right,
approval they
themselves,
might make. But it is an assumption on my part. And again, it can be done at the staff level. So without the need for a public hearing, we would never know about it. It other than it exists. The one issue that I found in re-reviewing the rules of LPC was that even where it can be approved by staff, and even where it's a facade that's not visible fronting a public thoroughfare, in 2 instances, and I'm sure Paige and Peter probably know this, if the original rear facade was brick or stucco, it has to be replaced in kind. And I'm assuming that the original was stucco and the replacement happens to be. When I first read that, I said, aha, maybe there is some issue, but apparently there isn't. So I expect this has been approved. 2 Article 78 proceedings haven't produced a different result. It's in the hands of DOB. They've given a temporary certificate of occupancy. And again, it's only speculation on my part, but I suspect the reason that DOB hasn't issued a permanent C of O is a matter of not having yet completed their final inspection, which is necessary to obtain a permanent C of O. And that's why I said to Rich in one of my emails, I think it was the last one, that as a practical matter, I think that the ship has sailed on this project. And I think in terms of being able to affect anything, it's the end of the line. So I don't know if there's a role for the committee at this point or the chairs. It might be appropriate for the chairs to contact LPC and just ask them what they've done, what approvals they've given, and just to satisfy you know, what the process has been, but I don't see any potential action by the committee or the board at this point, because it's all completed, it's a done deal. And I suspect it's been done with the necessary approvals.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jay.
I just,
Robert and Paige have their hands up just.
Yeah. Paige.
Okay, yeah,
Wait, Paige first. Wait, Robert, can Paige go
Committee
first?
sure
She had her
can,
hand up first.
sure
Okay,
can.
I'll be brief.
I
First of
appreciate it.
all, Rich approached me early, probably what, Rich, 3 or 4 years ago. And I started looking at it. The construction was very slow. It was, some of it looked to me rather sketchy, shall we say. I approached it then, not even dealing with the landmarks initially, was about the FAR and the zoning. Because I asked Rich, are you sure the wall has been built back in exactly the same place? And what was the condition of the wall that required that the entirety of that rear wall come down? And we never got to the bottom of that. I think this isn't necessarily a landmarks issue. It's definitely falls in the lap, as far as I was concerned, with the DOB. And I, at that time, the then commissioner had pledged that he would look into it. And sadly, he moved on to a better job. And for some reason, the files, to be honest, I feel they were lost. But I think, and I pleaded John Weiss and Mark, I even went and met with them to say that you have to look at this building, because this reminds me of that building on 96th Street that went up, what, 14, 15 floors, and then they discovered that it was also incorrect and they had to actually take them off. So I find this one insidious, and I have to give, we should give Rich a medal for monitoring this, because I think at the very least, the Landmark Commission, and maybe Jay, since you've taken my place with other ideas, I think a very firm letter should go to the Landmarks Commission that says when the commission or newly regulated properties come under the auspices of the Landmark Commission, they have to take note of existing residents' observations. So I don't know what else we can do, but I think to support Rich in his efforts, this is important to do. Okay.
Bob?
Yeah, I think,
And then Mark.
I think Paige has gotten to the context of my question, and it's on that wall. So I have a few questions. One is, well, first of all, if there was a question in the rear yard that extending the building, so the footprint of the building was deepened, and so the whole question of an original wall is moot, because the original wall would not have been there at that point, where it's the new extension.
This is a replacement.
Would it be a replacement if the original footprint was shorter?
No, it's a replacement of the wall.
I know, but the
And
wall.
we're talking about the same wall. Is that wall that?
The rear wall,
The
the
rear.
rear facade of the building.
Can you put the picture up? Because I'm looking at a wall between the abutting neighbor, and I don't see another wall. I just see.
It's the rear, Robert, it's the rear.
The rear elevation.
Hey, Sue.
Okay, all right. Okay, right, thank you.
But rarely, to your point, Robert, rarely is a rear wall contiguous with the original wall beneath. This one is smooth and goes up as if that was the way it was built. It is a complete fiction of a repair of a brownstone, because it would have been set back or the material would have been differentiated. This is a brand new, modern, of our time configuration that has nothing to do with preservation. And that's where I jumped in to help Rich, because I think this is important.
I was trying to get to that point, yeah.
Okay, there you go. There you see it.
This
It's
is
all one
from
facade.
this is from April of 2017, as they were enlarging it. So they had done some of the work, in 2009. They did more of the work in violation of the stop work order in 2012 when the roof was leaking. They used that as an opportunity to move the project forward and got a violation of the stop work order at that point. But
I remember all of that.
basically from 2009 until 2016, the rear was partially demolished, but the back wall was not built. And the back, I mean, there's a question, and to Jay's point of, was the back extension built and is it just the wall, or is the entire back extension needing approval? And DOB and LPC were very clear in 2005, 15 and 16 that it needed LPC approval to move forward.
In my opinion, there's no way that, as Rich describes this, that any other building on that block sticks out that far and goes up that high. It's now the anomaly.
Paige, can you remind me when this Riverside West End Historic District?
Oh God, it was midway in his construction project.
It was
I'll
June
look
of
it up.
2015.
Oh, you
I'm
have
sorry?
it? Excellent.
June 2015.
Right, that's what I saw. So I obviously, Rich, you probably know what stage this was at, but if DOB, I assume, had already issued permits, building permits to go ahead with this, it would have been grandfathered anyway. So,
Right.
I mean,
Except that they said that
my point simply is that whatever permits are now required as a result of the designation just didn't exist. I mean, and again, this building was already had this abominable two-story, totally inappropriate addition. So as Paige said, it might have been, had it been regulated by landmarks, that whatever was built, if anything on the roof, would have had setbacks and so forth. This two-story brick addition covered the entire top of the building. And that's just the way it existed. So obviously anything you did to the rear wall of the building was going to go up the full 6 stories. It just wasn't an issue that could be dealt with in any way. Unfortunately, it was all centered around an already existing rooftop addition that never would have been approved on any level had the designation been in effect at the time. So that's what determined what could be done and what couldn't be done.
But I also think the DOB didn't do their job of actually checking.
My Paige, I don't disagree with you.
Okay, that's all I have.
I know nobody is pleased with this result and what this building looks like and what was done. But I think at some point we just have to confront the issue is what, if anything, should this committee / community board do at this point, knowing full well that whatever's been done to this building is a done deal. It's not going to change.
Mark, you were going to say something? I know you waited for a long time.
Thanks. Jay's conclusion that nothing's going to change is hard to argue with. Notwithstanding, maybe there's some role for us to play here. I'm going to take us back to the first time we tilted at this windmill when I was involved and Scott Stringer was still borough president. And we convened a meeting with DOB because, as everybody's acknowledging, it wasn't an LPC issue until about 4 years later. And at that time, the issue was whether the building was really occupied or not, and whether there was a tenant protection plan. And far from being sympathetic to the issue of tenants being living through a construction site and being put at risk. And I remember there was something about a staircase that was pulling away from the wall, and it's a hazy memory. But anyway, DOB essentially threatened the borough president and us, saying that if it's really that bad, then we should revoke the certificate of occupancy and kick all the tenants out. And since these were rent regulated tenants, obviously that was not a course that we wanted to see happen. The only caveat that I see here is that while the building permit was issued before the landmark designation, and therefore that building permit would continue and would be grandfathered, there was not just a stop work order, but at one point, Rich, if I'm remembering correctly, the building permit was actually rescinded and then was restarted in some way. And that is what triggered LPC's right and obligation to review. And so I'm wondering if that was a subject of either of your Article 78 proceedings, and whether there was a determination that that a certificate of appropriateness was not required because of that grandfathering or not. Was that litigated and was that resolved? Because that strikes me as where the door to LPC comes and goes.
So, and to Jay's point, this very well could be a done deal, and I'm not clear that I completely understand the resolution to the Article 78. And it could be that resolution superseded LPC having said that this does need LPC approval. To Jay's question, LPC, it was just this past February, so 11 months ago, that LPC said that the wall is temporary and still needs approval. They've issued 3 CNEs. Well, they've issued 2 CNEs since then, one pending. None of them deal with this wall. So they definitely have not approved the wall. They might have determined that the court opinion said that approval is not needed. Mark, to your question, the permit never was revoked. They issued notices to revoke it a few times. It expired by limitation a few times because enough time had run out. But my understanding is that DOB reissued the permit without ever having it revoked and having them have to completely apply for a new permit. Whether that was proper, I think, is unfortunately is water under the bridge.
Yeah.
And I just want to get back to
go ahead. Sorry.
I think as a next step, just asking a few questions of LPC could really help us decide if any further actions are appropriate. So I think anything further, it could very well be that they come back and say, for these reasons, it's done. In which case, maybe we look at this as an example to see if there are any recommendations we make on a neighborhood basis, but this is done. But I think that one question, especially of, does LPC still see this wall as temporary? If we knew that answer, it could help understand just what, if any, actions might be appropriate.
Yeah, let me just add one thing, I'm sorry, which is that TCOs are actually more common than actual certificates of occupancy these days. All of those mega towers on 58th Street are occupied based on temporary certificates of occupancy, and there's no obvious plan in sight to turn them into full-fledged ones.
Let's have Sue, you want to say something, then Clary, then Jay, then Kay and I, we should talk about.
Yeah, then we should figure out something.
I was going to say,
whether it's a letter
Rich,
or
just put those questions together and forward them to us, to Kay and myself. With maybe Mark's help and with everybody's help, we'll put together something to write to LPC.
Yes.
But Susan, hi.
Hi. First of all, sorry for being late. I'm in Seattle on business and just got back. So I just want to jump in. So I know this is an important topic for you, Rich. I remember the last conversation about this, I don't know, 2 years ago, whatever it was. It must have been longer because it was in person. It's just a quick question. I apologize if you've already covered it. Have you had any luck or gotten any traction with any of the electeds?
The question was asked.
It was asked and answered.
Asked and answered.
Okay.
Right?
Sorry, and the answer was no, I assume?
Yeah.
No, the answer was they were extremely helpful back when this first was an issue. I've been very reluctant to keep going to the electeds because I feel that, to the extent that I have access to them as a board member, it shouldn't be on a personal issue.
Okay.
And-
Yeah,
Okay,
can I just opine on that for just a second? Because I had my own share of problems with LPC about 10 years ago, whenever it was. And I have to say, in my opinion, which is worth nothing, I would say that as long as you're saying, I'm coming to you as an individual, I don't think that the fact that you're on CB7 should hinder you from going to electeds, as long as you're not doing it on CB7 letterhead and, and
Yeah, of course.
so I think that the electeds, in my experience, the electeds are really the best way to go about this. DOB is it often ties with HPD for very frustrating, and LPC can be frustrating as well. So I would say give the electeds a chance to try to help you, but that's just my useless opinion. I feel for you on this. It really looks horrible.
Thank you.
Larry?
Yeah, a couple of things. I fear that I do agree with Jay's and I think other people's conclusion that it's almost certain that this, I wouldn't use the cliche done deal because that suggests agreement or something having been done right. Fait accompli, I think, is the better cliche to apply to the situation, and I fear it is that. But a couple of things, Rich. Number one, if you would be able to send to me the determinations by the courts in the Article 78 proceedings, I would like to look at those in case somehow get inspired by what I see there.
I was going to make the same request. So Rich, if you can do it, I would suggest you do it to the co-chairs, to Clary, to me, and to Mark.
Yeah. Second, Rich, how many,
And Susan.
you know how many
Or
apartments?
anybody else that wants them.
Yeah. Were all of the, was the building at some point vacated, and are these all new tenants?
Yeah, so and they bought out the last of the tenants.
The reason I'm
And
asking is, do you know how many apartments there are now?
Yeah, they actually did it. Originally, they were going to do 12 apartments. 6
Okay,
half
so in any
floors.
event, it's more than 6, so it is subject to rent stabilization as it currently exists.
It's exactly 6 because they were going to do it as 12. They ended up doing 6 floor throughs. Because they don't have a fire escape in the front, because that would not have gotten approved.
Okay.
There
I'm
is
sorry.
a fire escape in the rear.
If it's 6, then I think it means they are stabilized and however the stabilization works these days. I'm not saying this is an avenue, but at least lets one think about whether there's anywhere to go with HPD on this. I don't know that there is, and I've never worked with HPD, but conceivably an avenue, probably not. The other thing I wanted to say is, I have forgotten, but give me half a second to try to remember what it is. I lost it, but I think going back just to where I started, and I'll stop talking, is that I think I don't share Jay's generosity of spirit in assuming that LPC has cleaned up its act here, or that, although we don't know that for sure. I think it's just more likely that between LPC and DOB, they've messed up and basically don't want to do anything about it and are not going to be forthcoming. I know the other thing I was going to say. One of the hardest things to research in my recent experience, although I don't typically research other agencies, is trying to mine the depths of DOB Now, which is their current public website, which if you manage to mine its depths, you might or might not be able to figure out something about why they do not yet have a permanent, a final C of O is the right word, and only have TC of Os. It's one of the hardest, it's very difficult to research through DOB Now, but that's where that answer might be found. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Clary. Jay, final word on this?
Yeah, first of all, I don't hold any animosity toward LPC, Clary, but I wasn't being generous, just pragmatic. I figure since at the very least they had to respond to 2 Article 78 proceedings that, and I was going to ask Rich the same question, to take a look at those 2 proceedings, to the papers, their responses, and the decision they would have at least had to disclose in the Article 78 proceedings, what they've done, et cetera. So before we do a letter of any kind or the co-chairs do a letter and we take a look at it. We should have that, information. So,
Okay, so Kay, let's talk about that. I agree with Jay. We need
Yeah.
all the information before we compose a letter. We can think also about anybody else who should be contacted about this. We can ask LPC, and I'll do this through the office, ask Jesse to keep tugging at LPC's ears, on their ears, to tell us what's going on with this application. Because we don't know if it's going to be at a staff level or they have to come to our committee and therefore the board. So we want to keep up to date with this. And then I don't want to say like in a month, but that on the outside limit, maybe within between now and our next committee meeting, we can have a letter drafted, composed and drafted. And does that work for you?
It's a matter of procedure, Michelle. When Rich first came to the committee about this, and we sent out a couple of letters and ended up doing a resolution. So the letters really should come from the co-chairs and the board chair.
Okay. Well, no, I'm not suggesting that we do
No, I
anything
thought you were
without-
suggesting that the office would somehow.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't do anything without the blessing of Stephen Brown. He could put his name on these letters. Yes, Madge?
What are we asking for?
Well, that's what Rich is going to tell us. He's going to send us a little email to tell us exactly the questions he wants answers to.
I'm sorry I keep speaking, but if I can comment, Madge, and that's an excellent question. And I put on my hat as a lawyer, and the way I would approach it is rather than giving them a list of specific questions, what I would ask them for in general terms is to give us their entire history of any permits, et cetera, that they have in their records regarding this particular project, this particular building. And once we get that, then we come back at them. It's sort of like, let's take the test, let's take the testimony, and then we cross-examine.
Okay. Now, I have a little bit of
just the way I would do it.
Their history used to be completely non-transparent, but I noticed, I don't know, a year or two ago that it seemed to be possible to research online permits that LPC had actually issued. Is that not the case? Or is that only on certificate of appropriateness and not?
But just to give you an idea, I went online to look at the current permit that's before them, and under work type, it just says filing any work. Now, you tell me what that means.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I thought I didn't know what it meant because of my naivete and inexperience.
No.
But now that you said it, Jay, I don't feel so bad.
I had no idea what that meant. So that's why I think asking them to lay out, any permits that were issued, what they were issued for, et cetera, and let's see what we can get.
Okay.
All right. All right.
So that's what we're
Rich,
going to do.
Is that?
Yeah, thank you so much. And
we can do.
Yeah, and again, very good chance that they no longer consider it to be temporary. I'd like to hear that from them, and they haven't responded. I'm not asking people to put a huge amount of work in this. I think Jay is 99.99% right that this ship has sailed, but given that they did say that in their most recent filing that they see it as temporary and they haven't approved it since then. I'd just like to hear from them.
Let's see what they have to say.
Let's see. I think
Jay, I appreciate all the work you did for this.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you to everyone, and especially Jay.
Yeah, and I think that's all we can do. That doesn't involve a couple of sticks of dynamite, which I'm not suggesting.
It is an awful eyesore that thing. Oh, Rich, I forgot I had a question for you. Am I correct that there's no 313 West 103rd?
Yes.
I just found that interesting that it goes, from 11 the 15. Did somebody do that because they're superstitious or?
Richard, whatever happened to that tenant that she pushed back so hard? She had a lot of community support.
Yeah, she
And,
ended up getting, and I'm just, I'm not sure like what she wants publicized, but she ended up being bought out and is happy and has moved on and never wants to think about this experience again.
Of course.
This is a total clinic. This is a total clinic. And it's- it
Anybody
should be a
have any other
textbook.
new business, anything they want to talk about, anything they don't want to talk about? All right, so shall we? shall
So
I
many
make a
things we don't
motion?
want to talk
Jay,
about.
would it be helpful if I drafted the resolution on that 86th Street property? And can I ask Paige to help me make an English language translation of what I tried to put forward?
Good idea.
Thank you.
I'm always
I'm
willing to help.
always in favor of more work for Mark. I have to.
Well, I'm going to help him this time. My
And,
pleasure.
and Paige even
Especially
better.
about the Flemish,
Paige
starting with,
better.
I assume that's not PHLEGM, so.
My middle
All right.
name is Fleming. I just want you to be cautious about the illusions.
Oh, dear.
All
Any
right,
relation
so-
to James Bond, or?
Well, I don't know, maybe. That'd be nice.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Good night, thank
Most
you.
Good night, all.
interesting
Thanks,
meeting.
everyone.
Aye.
Take care of
Thank
yourselves.
you.
Aye.
And we'll see you soon.